on the need for more foster parents. So, a quote from Dr. Childry says, an aware parent loves all children he or she interacts with, for you are a caretaker for those moments in time. And to be a foster parent, I feel you need to have compassion, you need to have understanding, and most of all, you need to have patience, because you're going to be coming with kids from all sorts, all wired and rambunctious, and so you have to kind of be prepared for that. The need, I feel, for foster parents and why they are needed so much is because they have a large amount of children in foster care in the foster system. And according to Corey S. Shadaima, in 2017, 442,995 children in the U.S. were in foster care, and 51% were adopted by foster parents. And I never knew there was that much, but it's kind of eye-opening to me. And another need I would like to point out is that there's a need for Native American foster parents, because you don't really hear that much of them, because there isn't enough, and because there isn't enough, they don't have very much funding in the tribal agencies to fund them, to allow them the things that they need to get for the children and stuff. And to get the funds, you have to meet requirements through the Federal Children Welfare Program called the Title 4E, and that is a 139-page requirement to ask for the funding. And so as of now, a lot of tribal agencies are looking into it, and they're trying to fulfill those, because they do have a long list of things that they need to do. And one of the tribes is the Pasqua Yaki tribe. They are trying to meet the requirements. There's, as far as what the article said, they're still in the process of trying to do it because of how much requirements they need. And there are many other tribes in the U.S. trying for them and getting approved, so they can have that funding to give to the families through the tribal agency, so they don't have to go through the state. And the satisfaction to that is to obtain more foster parents needs to be talked about more, because to me it seems like when you hear foster, you hear all the bad things. You hear about the tantrums, and you hear about all the negative stuff about it. And to me, you need to hear the good things, because they are children. You have to have the patience with them. You have to understand them, and just to put that out there that children are children. You have to take them with a grain of salt. I mean, they say crazy things, and they're always going to be rambunctious, I feel. An article called "Foster Kids Are Strong" says foster parents become overwhelmed because some kids are aggressive, angry, and have a hard time communicating. And which is true, but when you do become a foster parent or look into it, they don't just put you in there to say, okay, here, you're a foster parent. They do put you through training. They make sure that you understand what you're going into. They make you understand, or they help you understand that it's not hunky-dory all the time, and with that, it may lead to rethinking it, but I think to counteract that, you have to kind of open your ears and hear all the good stories that come from them, because there's more. I feel the good stories outweigh the bad. At the end of the day, to me, it's just you gotta remember that you put their children's feelings first. you want to hear all the happy, successful ones over the negative ones. And yes, there are ups and downs. I mean, what in life doesn't have ups and downs? Everything in life has ups and downs, but you, like everything else, you get through them. You try to gain the knowledge as to help these kids understand the reason why they're there. And the second part I want to talk about is steps in gaining more Native American foster parents. And that's just to look at all the possibilities, to share the importance of keeping Native American foster kids inside the Native American communities, because it's not bad that they go to other ones, it's just that their culture gets lost within it. And just like Black children, their culture gets lost when they go into a non-Black person's house, because maybe some people don't know how to fix their hair or how to manage their skin and stuff like that. So it's important to keep these in within their community, and so that's why they ask for more foster parents within their ethnicity, and not just them, just anybody. And maybe another satisfaction would be to get foster parents together, whether it be Native American or others, to ask more questions and to get insight of their stories and what they went through and what they used to help get through their tough times. And with I am a foster parent. I feel that once you're a foster parent, you're always a foster parent. You'll always be a foster parent, regardless if you're licensed or not. You still hold those values within you. I got lost, sorry. And I feel, once you have done it, I feel that you gain the knowledge and the understanding, and as for myself, it has pulled me in a lot more. I never thought I would be a foster parent. I actually didn't know about it until I came up with what do you want to call it? It presented itself to me. And we were contacted, and me and my husband, and we were contacted about his niece and taking her in, and so we considered it, and we did it, and we took her in, and it's a life-changing experience. It's something that maybe in my teen years I've always wanted to get a big house and house all these children that, whether you see on TV or you see on the streets or wherever you go, I was always drawn to wanting to help these children. And after a couple of years ago, I found out about the foster, and I thought, wow, this is kind of up my alley, because I've been wanting to do this whole time, and then I knew about it. And you do have to get licensed. Tribal agencies do have their own license requirements, but they're a little bit different. And the state there are a little more steps, and they get a little more detailed than the tribal agencies do. In a previous article, Young states, an effort will be worth it in the end because it means more stability for the tribes, foster parents, and kids. Here she is talking about getting help for federal funding for the tribal agencies. And if we can obtain more funding for the agencies, then I feel they can get more Native American foster parents, because they will be able to help them bring in the children. And the visualization would be bring awareness to the importance of Native American foster parents. I think that if you're very interested, then the opportunity is there, and when you get involved, I feel that you will just jump at it if that's what you are really wanting to do and it really resonates with you. I feel being a foster parent has brought out the best of me. It's an experience that I never knew I would love, but I do love it. I've really gained a lot from it. And one thing I've learned from it is patience. I've gained a lot of patience. I mean, I may feel like I have patience, but when you have 4 boys, you yell a lot. However, there are barriers that do keep Native Americans from receiving a foster's license, which Jennifer DeCubulus calls a lifetime of prohibitions. And she works for the Hennepin Health and Human Service Department. And she says that old criminal charges from years ago, since that person could have really changed their life around. So in the background checks, they do ask you for stuff, and she feels that if that happened maybe 20, 40 years ago, that they shouldn't really look back into it, because she feels that since then, these people could have turned their whole life around and they could be doing really good in their life, so they shouldn't hold that against them to be a foster parent. And because of these barriers, Native American children sit longer in placement or in sheltered homes. And another article by Heather Benjamin, she believes a lack of resources is what prevents more American Indian families from hosting children in foster care, and not only taking in Native children, but other races. And I feel that even though you're a foster parent to any child, no matter what color they are, but I feel that if you're a Native American foster parent and you're there and you're licensed, I feel that when a Native American child does go into foster care, you will be there to take them because they need more of them. And according to Christy Rennick from an article about Minnesota recruitment of Native American foster homes, she says, a lot of distrust of the government is a significant barrier. Many members of Native communities may not be willing to submit background checks. And that's understandable, because in the beginning that's what I was fearful of, and it's not as bad as they make it seem. I guess it's just more of a safety net to make sure that you're able to care for these children without any harm. And the call to action, I would like to say, if you or anyone you know who is interested in helping youth as a placement for them to stay, let it be 1 day, 2 days, a week, a month, or however long they just need, I encourage you to consider becoming a foster parent. Anyone can be a foster parent that meets the requirements, and they vary from state to state. However, I do focus on Native American foster parents because you don't really hear about them much, because as we learned earlier, a large number of Native American children go into foster care. And the goal for that, the overall goal is reunification with the parents. They're just there to provide a safe place for them and how their parents can fulfill the requirements that are needed for them to go back into the parents' care. And another quote by Christy Rennick, she states, many states or private foster care licensing agencies use standards that do not align with tribal culture and reality, so many families become alienated by these mainstream methods and either don't complete the licensing process or only keep their license active for a short time. And this is just me, they were talking about like how Native Americans are really close-knit and their families are really big. Like say, you have a grandma living with, you're living with the grandma and then you have the grandchildren and maybe she has younger kids and stuff, and they see that as a problem, so they can't replace the Native American families with them. And so I think like if we bring awareness that how natives are just a big family in general, that maybe even the bigger family will help the child feel more comfortable with the big family. And I'd like to mention that yes, you do have to go through background checks, but if you're passionate about wanting to be a foster parent, I just consider it. All they can do is say no, but if you're really wanting to help children, I guess, in that way, then I would just say try it. In the long run, I feel it's worth it. I feel that you see happy faces. You're just that safe place. You're just a safe place for them to feel comfort until they're ready to go home. And I must mention that being a foster parent is not for everyone. It is time consuming. It takes patience and understanding. But if you love children and you want to help, like giving them the safe place, then just consider. And in closing, I'd like to add, to become a foster parent or to just learn of the qualifications or just news about it, I guess. You need to me, you can just literally just put Google how to become a foster parent, and many, many websites will come up and tell you what you need to do and how to go about it. Thank you.